Good evening, welcome, Fifi Kwetey.
Thank you very much.
Nothing has changed with you since 2008.
It's been ages.
That was a brutal attack you launched. It reminded us so much of 2008.
Oh, I see. I mean, I always try to be very accurate and very factual.
Yeah. Akoto Osei will tell us.
My names are F and F and F. Facts, figures, and I deliver them in fire.
In fire? It was real fire?
Yeah, that's what I do.
You were spitting the fire all over?
And I deliver them in fire.
No mercy for anyone. You went for the jugular. Well, news in politics and as far as the campaign is concerned, the one that is trending the most is that there's been the endorsements are also kicking in, and a lady called Matilda from Kumahood and more significantly Ejako attended Nana Akufo-Addo's residence to endorse his candidature for the election 2016. So the photo, here it is, sitting with the NPP presidential candidate and telling him that he's endorsing him to win the election. What we know then is that the stars of the silver screen are part of the politics. That's Matilda enjoying a handshake with the Honorable Nana Akufo-Addo in his home here in Accra, where they had gone to endorse him. So John Dumelo, who has endorsed President Mahama and is actually on President Mahama's campaign trail, does now no longer have to sing a lonely song. Mr. Dumelo is in good company. He's NDC, Ejako is MPP. We'll be following up on that and find out what happens. Let's get back into the studio and get back to some of the hot issues. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. To all the viewers.
The Honorable Anthony Akoto Osei, you've been Minister of State, Deputy Minister and Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. Thankfully, Fifi Kwetey has been there as well. What he sought to do today was really to present a picture of macroeconomics. He did a bit of politics and he defined and redefined the application of the word incompetence. And we'll get to that in a minute. But what he did really would have been a very personal attack on the work that you did, and you and your colleagues at the Ministry of Finance, because what he was talking about really was what had been produced by a Ministry of Finance under the MPP and under the NDC. Was he right in some of the things he said?
Well, thank you very much. To be honest, I didn't listen to it. Somebody called it to my attention, and I reminded them.
Oh, your phone is ringing. You can turn it off. I should have told you to do that. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
I reminded them that.
Is your phone off, by the way?
This is the same Fifi Kwetey who... he's my good friend, so I don't mind to tell him. In private, I tell him, who said that President Kufuor had taken all of our gold reserves. And then when he was being vetted, he took it back. That is the Fifi Kwetey.
So you're talking about a history of you're undermining his credibility.
No, I'm not
in terms
undermining
of the things he says.
I'm not undermining his credibility. In fact, one of the things that was sent to me, which shocked me, I thought that as a Deputy Minister of Finance, he'll check. He actually said that the deficit in 2008 was 15%.
That deficit means what?
The budget deficit.
The amount of money that we proposed to spend that we didn't have. No,
well, after we have spent compared to our revenue,
so
we had a deficit.
Yeah, so what we will spend but we don't have.
Yes.
Okay, so it was 15%. So assuming that the whole budget...
It was GDP, but I'm surprised that this figure is coming from him. It's so wrong. And I asked him to go back and check.
Well, let's understand what the deficit means. You're saying that if we budgeted to spend 100 cedis, we only had 85 cedis. That's what it means.
That's basically.
That's what it means. So that everyone can understand it. So this is what was the state of affairs as was reported by him.
As a percentage of GDP.
Okay.
I was told that he said it was 15%. I just want to remind him
that it was what?
That is 6.1.
Oh, it was lower. Okay.
So
this is 2008 at your exit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you start out that way, but I'm not surprised. See, he'll tell you. I've told him that when you go in the Ministry of Finance or when you're a minister, propaganda won't get it. If you're talking macroeconomics, and Paul, remember, Baumia has given a lecture. Baumia has invited the government with a 170 list of statements. The Minister of Finance has not responded. The deputies have not. Vice President has not. It takes the Minister of Transport to purport. I mean, do you think that is normal? So if they want to do propaganda...
But he spoke for about an hour, and you have pointed out...
I did not listen to him.
You have pointed out just one of the things that he said.
I was told.
Okay,
let
him give us a summary of the things he said, and that might help our viewers, some of whom may also not have heard the details.
On macroeconomics?
Yes, all the things he said. I mean, he can summarize. It wasn't that
in an
long.
hour?
He's able to do that. I know him. Fifi, so tell us, for those viewers who have just got home and have heard that you've done something today, but they've not had the details, what did you tell the press?
Okay. Thank you very much, and good evening again to your viewers. As I said earlier, we try to always be true to the facts, and it will be so much appreciated if my senior brother tried very much to stick to the facts as well. The fact of the matter is that Fifi Kwetey has never, in the history of this country, ever said that the gold reserves of Ghana were stolen. Never. What he's referring to has to do with a newspaper publication. And just as, for example, Metro TV can sometimes make an error, CNN has made an error, BBC has made an error, Joy FM, Ghana Broadcasting have made an error. Newspapers and media outlets get it wrong. Has nothing to do with me. Now, so for him, who actually is claiming to be factual, to be making reference to a newspaper publication and ascribing to me 8 years after the event, tells you that you need to absolutely up the ante when it comes to verifying your facts. Your facts are totally wrong. 2, he said 15% was not the GDP. You see, this is what you call... Hold on, I'm coming to that. He said, listen, in the year 2008, when the MPP presented its budget the previous year, their target was to achieve 4% GDP budget deficit. 4% budget deficit, that's what they look for. At the close of 2008, when we did the budget presentation the following year, the budget deficit as of 2009 stood at 15%. That's a jump. That's missing a target of 4 and jumping to 15%. And those are the facts. You know what it's trying to do? It's what you call a student who took an exam, let's say in 2008. At the time he was taking the exam in 2008, this was the marking scheme. And he set out to have a target, maybe an achievement of 70%. He went and got 30%. 2 years on, or he was told that, you know, the marking scheme has changed. So, you know, your 30%, which actually gave you an average, now suddenly has gone up to a little above average. So he's taking refuge in that. But the
so if we want to talk about...
No, the truth of the matter is that in 2008, at the time he was in the finance ministry, their target was 4%. What did you end getting in 2008? 15%. That makes it 11% budget overrun.
If it does 50%,
you don't go and take refuge 2 years on and pretend as if somehow it's 6%.
If we talk about missing targets, missing targets,
no, just hold on.
Will the NDC government survive?
No.
Missing targets, because that's the point you're making.
You must understand that in terms of budget overrun, if you set a target of 4 and you achieve 15, that 11% budget overrun is the highest in the history of Ghana. I've never. What
was the levels of the overrun during the Mills Mahama era?
5.5%. We set a target of 6% in 2012 and got 11.5. That means you miss it by 5.5, which is half of the 11% they miss. So his refuge is the fact that 2 years on, a rebasing was done. So he's seeking refuge in running away. That is what you call running away from the facts.
So what the point is, they missed their targets, and
what
do we attribute that to?
Obviously, he knows.
Indiscipline, corruption. What do you attribute that to?
I can give.
Yes, let's give an attribution, then we go to him.
No, let me give you exactly. Let me give you exactly the effect of what they left behind. The massive deficit they left behind caused inflation to move from 18% where they left it to 21%. The reserves.
So you inherited an inflation of 21%.
To 18%, we jumped to 21% because of the real debt. I mean,
where is it now?
They left behind. Now it's down to roughly 16.7 or so percent, which is much lower than the 18%. The cedi depreciation at the time they were leaving was 20%. It remained 20% only because they were desperate enough to sell Ghana Telecom in order to keep it at 20. It would have been far worse. But the cedi depreciation did not stop at 18% because of the massive mess they left behind. The cedi depreciated by an additional 18% in the first 5 months. Did the
cedi not depreciate more under Prof Mills?
No. You see,
and even in 2012?
Never under Prof Mills. Never under Prof Mills did we have that.
But it depreciated in 2012.
In 2013. No, more like 2014.
Yeah.
But I can explain why those things happened because of the changes that happened as far as
because we're in an election year. I'd like you to make attributions. So what would you attribute to this missing target and inflation figures? Is it incompetence, corruption, indiscipline? What is it?
In the case of NPP, I would just say in simple terms, what he did was simply, you see, if you have a group that, for example, goes to collect $750 million, and had a gang of 4 road project, which is a major critical project, and did not allocate even $1 of that 750 million to this gang of 4. And they actually left it behind for another government to come and look for funding. That's what you call monumental incompetence. That's exactly what it is their case.
Okay.
Monumental incompetence.
So
it's different from what happened in 2013, which because of the jump, the phenomenal jump that happened in the public sector wage, fiscal discipline became difficult. But we've been able now to rein that in and bring back the stability.
Okay. Doc, so he's saying that there was a lot of incompetence that they inherited. The incompetence was manifested by missing targets and also inflation at 20%.
18% moved to 21%. Reserves 1.8
and the cedi depreciation was such that within the first 5 months of Professor Mills taking over, it just
Thank you very much. I'm surprised he's talking about facts. I mean, aren't you embarrassed to be telling people about these facts? Your own, what's his name? Dufour. Let me quote him.
Dr. Kwabena Dufour.
Yes.
Is seeking another refuge.
Oh, please.
But he was your finance minister.
You're seeking
I think that's fair. I think
feel
that's
free,
fair.
Please.
No, I'm not
Please,
stopping you.
please.
I'm
When
not
you're
stopping
talking,
you.
I kept quiet.
I'm not stopping you, Doc. Please go ahead.
Let's have a debate.
Yes. Dr. Dufour was the finance
when
minister.
I kept
So
quiet.
it's okay to
You
quote
see,
him.
Baumia has presented.
You're going to quote Dr. Dufour.
Yes,
Let's
let me
finish
quote
that.
Dr.
What did
Dufour.
he say that is significant to this discussion?
You see, and this is why I say this whole thing is propaganda, and that's why we are in the mess we are in today. And it is true. You see, Baumia told us, even Dr. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here you go.
Yeah.
You mind if I quote?
Yes, please quote.
Feel free.
He's talking about 750 million, didn't he?
So the Euro bond, yes.
Non-concessional, this is a budget statement. Non-concessional borrowing in 2007 was mostly used to raise energy capacity, and that of 2008 is being assessed out of the 750 million borrowed in the 2007 in the form of Euro bonds. 595 million had been disbursed by January 2009. Now he's talking about roads, huh? Let me give you the breakdown. 286 million for VRA.
From the 750?
Yes.
Okay.
This is by Dufour.
Okay.
Not by me.
Okay.
134 for ECG investments.
This is Dufour giving the breakdown of how the 750 was spent to Parliament.
To the World Bank.
To the World Bank,
Yes.
okay.
54 million for investment in the Bui Dam, 31 million for government's equity in the West African gas pipeline, 90 million for public investments in road infrastructure. Now he's talking about incompetence. This government went and borrowed last year 1 billion at 10.25 for 15 years. And you know what?
No.
They spent only 500 million and kept 500 million in the coffers of the Bank of Ghana to give to another bank to lend it back to them at 23% CD rate.
Now let's break that down and understand it properly. So you said they
Last year,
1 billion.
$1 billion.
Then they used
at
500
10.25.
Yeah, at a high rate. Okay.
Very high rate.
Then they used 1 billion.
The minister himself said it.
Then 500 million did what?
They kept it as idle funds. When you borrowed at 10.25, you keep it in the Bank of Ghana's vaults at 0 interest rate. Then what we found out was that some bank took 250 million. Does it make sense to borrow at 10.25?
The 250
please.
No, I'm just asking clarification.
Please,
What was it used for?
Let me finish.
Paul,
Yeah,
if you're going to have a debate, when you talk,
I'm just asking for clarification.
no, you cannot ask for clarification when you're speaking.
You have the opportunity
No,
when
yes.
it comes.
So, Baumia has thrown the gauntlet. They can't even respond to it. Since Mahama has become president 2012, 2013 has been the best year among the West. They are doing a fiscal consolidation with the IMF. Ask them, why hasn't the IMF review program concluded? That's why we said we are looking at them responding to Baumia's plan.
So what did Baumia say that they should
Baumia
respond to? That Mahama's
said
administration is what?
simple, that their performance in the 8 years has been abysmal. And it's been worse during President Mahama's period. All the indicators are going in the wrong place. President Mills in 2011 gave us what? 14% growth rate because of oil. Where are we now? 3.9%. But it's not a surprise. Why isn't it? We have borrowed so much that the investment payments GDP ratio is much higher than the interest payment is higher than the investment ratio. I mean, that cannot be correct. President Kufuor left the average at 9%. It's down at 4%. And they are surprised we are not growing. It's gone down. Inflation.
Yeah.
Last 2015 averaged 18.8. It's now come down to 16.9. You inherited it at 18%. We inherited it at 42% and brought it down to 18%. You inherited 18%, and you are happy you've brought it down to 16.9. By the way, during the Mills' time, it was in the single digits. So what happened? So what happened?
I think, Fifi, you yourself acknowledged today about the growth trend from the Mills-Mahama era, and you actually accused the NPP and Dr. Bawumia of not giving President Mahama credit for chairing the economic management team under Mills, which saw a steady growth. Did you acknowledge actually that under President Mahama, the growth has come down significantly and that it was better under President Mills?
Okay, let me just state the facts as they are. And those facts are available. The Ministry of Finance budget statements are available. The Bank of Ghana data is available. That's why I state what the facts are. If you take first and for nominal GDP between in the 8 years of the NPP. NPP inherited nominal GDP in Ghana cedis of 7.95 billion. And at the close of the 2008, the nominal GDP went up to 30.2 billion cedis. That represents 280% in terms of percentage change. From 7, let's say roughly 8 billion.
Well, to the uninitiated, that would be huge.
No, hold on. Just hold on. From 8 billion, they took it to 30.2 billion. That's 280% in terms of 8 years.
Okay.
Now, NDC pick it from the 30.2 where the NPP left it. Projected GDP by the close of this year, the projected, and even so, it is at a conservative rate. In the first quarter this year, the GDP grew by 4.9, but we are even using a 4.1 and annualizing that, which is actually very conservative. If you take even that conservative one, projected GDP for the close of this year is standing at 166.7 billion, starting from 30.2 to 166.76 billion. You know what that constitutes in nominal terms? 453%. That's almost twice the 8 years nominal GDP.
Sometimes
of the
they say that.
No, just hold on. Just hold on. I'm not. No. Because you see, no. Just hold on. I'm coming. I told you that I have the facts. That's why you should just listen to me. Now let's take real GDP. Okay, and in real GDP, we actually took non-oil. In order for them, all the excuse about oil, we take it out. Let me give you the facts as they are between NPP's 8 years.
But would you explain to us the rebasing bit?
No, just hold on. I mean, just allow me so I don't lose my train, okay? Yeah. 2001 GDP or the NPP stood at 4.2. Doc, you can verify. 4.2 for 2001.
GDP growth?
Real GDP growth.
Okay. 2001.
2001. I mean, I'm taking the 8 years of the NPP, and then the 7 and 8 years of the current NDC. 4.2 in 2001, 4.5 2002, 5.2 2003, 5.6 2004, 5.9 2005, 6.4 2006, 4.3 2007, and for 2008, I'm actually giving him the complete final, including the rebase, in order to make him happy. I give him the 9.1 in order to make him happy. 9.1%.
2009 or 8?
2008, 9.1.
Okay, that's where the rebasing comes in.
Yeah, that's where the rebasing came in. Okay. Now, if you put all of that together, you work it in terms of the annual change that happened within the 8 years of the NPP every year, it stood at 5.66. That's
the
roughly
average 5.6.
That's 5.6
of growth.
Okay. Take what happened in the non-oil GDP of the NDC. 2009, that was our first year. 2009 was 4.8%. 2010, 7.6. 2011, 8.2. Not the 14 which was with oil. 8.2 without oil. 2012, 8.6. 2013, 6.6. 2014, 3.9. 2015, 4.1. And we are projecting conservatively 4.1. You put it all together, what that gives you is 6.1% annual. So it tells you over the last 8 years, when you take even non-oil to non-oil, we have grown the economy much more than them. Nominal terms and also in terms of the real GDP. So I don't know exactly what he's talking about when he's claiming that they actually grew the economy better than us. We are talking about a group that left this economy. At the time we were living, reserves of the city stood at 1.8 billion. 1.8 billion. As I'm talking to you, billion dollars. As I'm talking dollars, yeah. As I'm talking to you now, the last figures released by the Bank of Ghana early this week stood at 5.4 billion. If you add the recent syndicated cocoa to the Eurobond to it, we are talking about reserves that are absolutely looking very strong as we enter into 2017. We are talking about people who left non-performing loans in the banking sector at 22%. Tor was on his knees and dragging down Ghana Commercial Bank. We had to come and look for 1.5 billion to pay the debt they left behind at all. And you are talking about managing an economy. And again, let's look purely about the economy they left
Non-performing loans.
Non-performing, that is when...
That is crippling the banking
absolutely
sector.
crippling the banking sector.
Apparently there's one going on now in a very big way.
Yeah, but then the thing about us is that because we are competent, we know exactly how to resolve it. That's why we came up with... That's why
the banks in a big way.
Hold on. That's why we came up. If you talk to the bank, they will tell you that they've had a discussion with the Ministry of Finance. And absolutely good solutions have been found on the back of the energy levy that we've been able to put together to ring-fence it and take care of it over a number of years.
So it will not become like the toilet.
That's what you do when you are competent, as opposed to them.
Okay.
Going for a deficit of 4 and missing it by 15 and seeking refuge 2 years on a rebasing, that absolutely makes you disingenuous.
Why are you borrowing so high?
Why are we borrowing high?
Yeah.
First and foremost, let's clarify a bit about the borrowing. As opposed to us, as opposed to the MPP, who went collecting $750 million and used some of it to buy locomotives. Locomotives at that time, what he did was not railway.
Does a do for statement that he read?
No, hold on. You see, what they are doing there is what you call a very clever classification, which is hiding the details. What you call the devil lies in the detail. When you go into the breakdown, what they are calling an energy, you know what it is? Energy, prepaid meters. Procurement of prepaid meters. At the time, tell them, you see, we went to collect, let's say, hold on.
Did Dr. Dufo make that statement?
No, just hold on. Of course, Dr. Dufo made that statement. But you need to go into the details to know exactly what is there.
Okay. So this is the headline that you're reading to us.
Exactly. Okay. When you go, for example, when we went to CDB, we went to borrow about $1 billion. You ask us today, we can point to the gas infrastructure, which is a massive investment need for this country. When Kwame Nkrumah went for money, you can point to Akoso Bodam.
You can point to
ask him to point. No, hold on. Ask him to point to one infrastructure that they use the 750. He can't, because part of it was used for locomotives when there was no railway line.
What about
part
the
of it was used
to buy UBA? What was that for?
500 what?
The one he made reference to, that $500 million out of $1 billion was given to UBA. This was a big media story when it came out.
You know, it's important to understand the fact that, first of all, they are under the impression that when you go and borrow money from the financial market, all of it is necessarily supposed to be used for the project. No. Sometimes you can actually use it for refinancing. When you have domestic debt, that absolutely have shorter maturity and also have higher interest rate. When you have what you call a debt from abroad that is relatively cheaper, you can actually do a swap in order to release the pressure on yourself and free space within your budget. So that's what the money for UBA was for. So when he talks the way he talks, this is exactly what the MPP does. Seeking to throw dust. No, I'm not dodging the question.
$500 million was kept in the bank. It was given to the UBA and borrowed back at a higher rate. Is that correct or wrong?
No. I mean, I think the finance minister came out clearly to speak to this issue again and again and again. So I don't know exactly why he's making such a phantom about this issue. The finance minister clarified that was not what it was. If the money had remained in the Bank of Ghana, that money actually would have earned no interest whatsoever. Taking it from there, because that money is part of what you call the infrastructure fund of Ghana. And that infrastructure fund is supposed to be used to leverage as a sovereign wealth fund to be able to accelerate the infrastructure of Ghana. So you want to put it in a place that you can actually get interest on it as a way of as it were shoring up your capacity. So it didn't cost you more. So it didn't cost you more. So you must look at the opportunity cost. You must look at the opportunity cost. If it had remained in the Bank of Ghana, earning virtually nothing, compared to if it went into a commercial bank where you are getting an interest on it, that absolutely makes much more sense.
But if you contrast the interest with the rate at which you took it back, do we gain or we lose?
No, you must always look at it in terms of what would have been the default situation. The default situation would have been it would have remained in the Bank of Ghana and nothing.
Yes, but that's new.
And then while
that's zero.
No, while it was there, don't forget, you still will have to be honoring what you call the debt. I mean, the interest rate at which you borrow.
So you look at
borrow it back. Paul, you look at the two scenarios and you take the best scenario out of the two. Okay. And of the two, the better scenario was what the finance ministry did.
What was the other matter that you raised today, Fifi?
Yeah,
you levied incompetence.
Let's get to that.
The discussion is too technical. Let's bring it to the incompetence bit that you were talking about.
Absolutely.
We have time for you, Dr. Because I see you're looking at your watch.
I'll go through a few.
You said the incompetence for what?
Yeah, I said incompetence. I said they actually have called us incompetent.
Yes.
And we find it quite laughable because it's a typical case of the black pot pointing a figure at the kettle and calling it black. Listen, incompetence is when a government determines to have a deficit target of 4%, but ends up getting 15%, which is 11% overrun. That is the incompetence. Incompetence is when a government sets out to build 4 major road projects and did not even know where the finance is coming from. and collected $750 million. They could not allocate $1 for that. Incompetence is when a whole government made up of what you call very great economic luminaries like Dr. Akoto Osei and Osafo Mafo, with people like Nana Akufo-Addo as Attorney General, spent months chasing $1 billion from a phantom company and ended up in a hairdressing salon. That is monumental incompetence. So when you have these people actually calling us incompetent, I mean, you actually wonder who actually is calling who what. Incompetence is when you have a ministry that's set out for in charge of railways, okay? And then that ministry actually for the period of its establishment construct no railway line, actually preside over the sale of the railway lines in the Western region. Whereas you had actually absolute $750 million, which could have been used to construct the railway line. They did not. They went to use the money to buy locomotives. And the question we ask is that we wonder where they wanted the locomotives to ride upon. Maybe the back of the elephant, maybe. That actually shows their incompetence. I said incompetence also is when you actually praise the economic performance under Prof. Mills. And then actually take on the economic performance under President Mahama, forgetting that the one who was in charge of the economic management team as head was the same John Mahama. That shows that you're incompetent, because if you are smart, you would have known that it's the same gentleman who was achieving the high rate of growth, brought inflation to continue 31 months continuous. Now, if today things are the way they are, the truth which Dr. Osei knows, because he has actually publicly declared it, the real difference has been the phenomenal jump that happened in the public sector wage from 2.5 billion to currently over 10 billion each year. Having to raise that quantum of money to take care of public sector wage has been the biggest challenge. That actually the World Bank understands it, the IMF understands it, he understands it, because one day he was actually in the program, they asked him what will you do. He said he would actually deal with the public sector wage, the single spine, because he knows that.
The single spine, you dealt with it under when you were at the Ministry of Finance.
Yes, that's true.
And you survived a growth rate that was appreciated.
No, you see, you appreciate that the single spine. No, the single spine really kicking into full gear in the very last moment of 2012, but more so in 2013. That's when you.
Oh, that's the way it went.
Yeah, exactly.
So the 2010-2011
was more of a lag effect.
So that's what has brought
absolutely
the
because
economy down.
In 2013 in particular, you were not just paying the wage, you also had to pay.
But were you
arrears.
not aware of where the single spine will take us in 2013?
No, the truth of the matter is that even if you were aware, it was a sacrifice that we had to make.
And if you are aware, you would have told us that this is where we're going.
No, I'm saying it's a sacrifice we have to make for the country, because public sector workers are a very important segment of our society. We needed to incentivize them. Even though this was a huge sacrifice, the country as a whole has gone through.
When are we going to overcome it?
But no, as you can see that things are actually changing now. As I'm talking to you, from January to date, the cedi depreciation stands at 4.1% compared to 20% at the time they were leaving.
So have we overcome it?
No, you can see. That's why we are seeing inflation, for example,
is it because we
now.
have enough money now to pay them?
Because what it is that we've actually worked with public sector workers in order to gradually bring down the ratio of the public sector wage as a percentage of the total tax of Ghana. Around 2013, if you added arrears at a point, it was even going to as high as 85% of the total public, tax of Ghana. But as it is today, we've been able to moderate it down. It's come down to the low, the very low 40s. And we are hoping that it could actually end in the 30s.
Oh, I think that the point is well made. I have a lot of messages, but let's hear
I was going to ask you a question. Did you really understand anything he said?
I mentioned that
real nominal GDP growth, mixing apples and oranges.
Okay, let us understand. Help us understand your position.
That is why I'm going back to the gauntlet Bawumia has thrown at them. They can't deal with it.
Which one are we not dealing with?
No, let him finish.
You tell us.
You name it, Dr. Akoto Osei.
Which one we are not dealing with?
Just go on.
Yeah, but
go ahead. I just want to take notes.
I'll give it to you. The 170 statements.
Which ones?
170 statements. Yes. Okay. You can walk us through some of them.
No, plenty. I mean, it's too much to call.
Okay.
But more importantly, he was talking about Mahama was what? Chairman of the Economic Management
Committee.
Yes,
at the time the build growth rate was achieved.
What was the deficit in 2012? What was the deficit in 2013? What was the deficit in 2014? For the first time in Ghana's history, 3 years in a row, we have double-digit inflation. Who was the president? That is what Bawumia is talking about.
Single spine.
I'll come to that.
Please.
Go on. Please go on.
Please. When you was talking,
Doc, I'm not disrupting you.
You are.
I just whispered a word.
No, you are not whispering. When you were talking, I kept quiet, patiently. Bawumia was saying that they used to tell us that because of the court case,
yes,
2013.
Yeah, it was.
If you look at the history of economic performance, that was the best year,
the 2013 year.
Yes, for President Mahama.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
That's the information.
In spite of the court case.
In spite of the court case, they can't. confront these facts. 2013.
What was the point you are making with that?
That if he was that competent since he became president, they are doing fiscal consolidation. You know what it means? Under normal circumstances, the indicators should be going in the right direction. Interest rates should be what? Coming down. Where are we? They are going up.
Okay, he makes the point about
it. It doesn't make any point.
No,
you didn't understand what he said.
About the wages, the single spine thing. He says we are now at 10 points.
The minimum wage, we took it to $2 from 201 to 208.
Yeah.
In their time, it is less than $2.
Why are you quoting dollars? Why are you quoting dollars?
It fell in during Muhammad's regime.
Why you
all the indicators are saying so.
Why are you quoting
dollars? What is more important?
Just go on, Doctor.
No, that's being rude. And I don't understand.
I'm not being rude.
Then you shut up.
But it's true that he didn't talk when you were speaking.
That's okay.
I mean, that's out of respect.
No
You
problem.
see, I'm telling them, go back to the 170 statements. If you didn't understand this lecture, he's made it simple for them. 170 statements and deal with it. He thinks we are doing propaganda. Look, everybody he talked about the growth rate. Who talks about nominal growth rate in this world? What does it mean?
That's very rich.
Nominal growth rate. That is why the real GDP growth is what we talk about. Ask him, what has he been in during Muhammad's time? Up to what? Projected. What did he say? Projected.
Yeah.
Why are you projected? By who? Ministry of Finance? In one government, Bank of Ghana comes to tell us the debt GDP ratio is 66. The minister says it's 63. But it's here again. Bamia told them because they are using projected growth rate. When they have the actual for the first quarter, it was 71.1. So why are they hiding the facts?
In a nutshell,
in a nutshell,
and in the economy.
No, the indicators are there. It's not me saying it. That is the point Bamia is telling them. These are facts.
If I want to go out tomorrow to look for those indicators, and an ordinary person listening, what should he look for? Should he look for price of bread? Should he look for
price of bread, utility prices, water prices, taxes are going up? I mean, everything that I used to pay 100 cedis a month not too long ago for a week, for my utilities. I'm now paying 400 cedis. Nothing has changed in my house. I used to fill my car 150 cedis. Now, minimum 350. And it is not only me feeling it. That is what Ghanaians are going through. We went and bought generators at 220 million. When we could have, at 510 million, when we could have bought it at 220 million. Is that competence? People are building generators 1,600 megawatts at 1.5 million. We are building 500 megawatts at 1.5 billion. Is that competence? I go and borrow at 10.5% dollar rate for 15 years. I keep 500 in the Bank of Ghana at 0 interest rate. And you talk about smart borrowing? Please, that's what Bamia is talking about. What they've given us for the last 8 years, if we keep at this rate, if you are doing fiscal consolidation and debt is going up, something is wrong.
So
let me tell you what is the most curious thing I've seen.
Yes.
This July, when the minister came to Parliament, he said there's an item in the budget line, 1.7 billion discrepancy. Paul, do you know what it means?
1.7 billion CD discrepancy.
Yes, in the budget statement.
They can't account for.
They can't account for it.
Oh, but that's serious.
It is in the budget statement. If I'm lying, you should go and look at it.
The minister used the word discrepancy?
No, that is what they've called it. Discrepancy is a line item. I tell you, if I were in the ministry and a staff member came to me with that line, I'll tell them, if they cannot find it, I'll fire them. You cannot run a country and say you don't know what you did 1.7 billion cedis and you call that competence.
But what did Parliament do about that?
Second, Parliament,
yes,
the majority, don't they vote on these things?
Fifi, you are there.
In the same budget, Paul.
Is it true?
Paul, in the same budget.
I would like to respond to issues properly.
In the same budget statement.
When you finish, allow me to speak.
The table says that there's 0% financing for Bank of Ghana. But the table is showing borrowing of 1.5. When I brought it to their attention, they went and issued a public statement saying it is not true. But the table, that's what they presented to Parliament.
So there was dishonesty.
I don't know if it was dishonesty or incompetence or both. I don't know. But it's still there. Nobody has officially corrected it. But Paul, That's $600 million you can't account for. No, but
that's a serious.
We know where it is, Paul.
Who knows where it is? You know.
Yes.
As a minority knows.
No, it is showing in the financial system. You
What's
see,
showing there?
in the IMF program.
No, let's get it right. So,
let
minister comes to parliament and says that here's a budget statement. This is the stewardship of the peoples of Ghana money.
Yes.
Here's a budget statement, but I can't find 600 million.
We are saying we'll show them where to look.
But where is it?
When you don't pay contractors, there's arrears. These contractors have gone to borrow from the banking system. They are collapsing the banking system. So it is showing up as debt in the banking system. We have 8 banks, but Bawumia told us so.
Okay, as a government debt in the banking system? No.
Indirectly.
Okay,
you see, because government is not paying contractors.
The contractor borrowed on the back of the contracts with government.
Yes. So that is a serious problem. And that is competence. Right now.
If that is true, that is bad.
No, I'm saying that as of now, you don't present the budget statement and say you cannot find 1.7 billion. You see, it will show up somewhere. Look, you know why we have not concluded the program with the IMF?
No.
Because as of today at least, they have not reconciled 2015 data. If you have 1.7 billion discrepancy and you can't reconcile, the IMF will not be happy. They met first in April, asked them to come back to Washington. As of today, how come they have not concluded? And I'm worried as a Ghanaian. Because clearly, I hear today they said that the IMF program doesn't even come with money. Jesus Christ. We borrowed 980 million balance of payment support. World Bank gives us budget support because of the IMF program. And they are saying that...
They said it wasn't for infrastructure.
Please, but if you understand what you're doing, IMF program has never been for infrastructure.
Oh, I see.
Balance of payment support is not infrastructure. So if a minister doesn't know that basic thing and he says every person, please, we have to be serious. Tied to the IMF program is the World Bank budget support in this budget. It has not come because the IMF program has not concluded. As a Ghanaian, I'll be worried. And that's what we should be thinking about. How do we save Ghana? Not how do we do propaganda. Because you can't, propaganda will catch up with you. And that is what Bawumia is saying. And that's what we are saying, that the kind of path they're taking us, if they are not changed, this is exactly what we
You mean if they are not voted against? Well, that's what you mean by change?
Change is coming.
Okay.
And even the vice president himself said that change is coming. And he was insulted. Yes, in their Sunyani lunch here. But the fact is that let them go and take. He's made it easy for them.
Okay, let's get this. I think our viewers will be most interested in this allegation. If it's an allegation,
I'm interested in making a comprehensive response. So please, you said a lot of things. Allow me to proceed.
Yes, but that's important.
After I'm through, you can ask me the questions.
Will you include
Excuse
that?
me, I have noted a number of things. I'm going through them. So please allow me. Now, one, it's very interesting the way they conveniently jump from cedis to dollars when it is that it's very convenient to them. Why did you mention the minimum wage in dollars? Minimum wage in Ghana is in cedis. Why did you run away from cedis?
You want me to answer you?
You know why? You know why? Because exactly that is the level of disingenuity, where basically they pick and choose. Because he feels that over a certain period, because they were under HIPIC dispensation and were not spending the kind of quantum of millions to service debt, and which actually was not peculiar to them, because virtually all other countries, including banana republics that went through HIPIC, all had systematic virtual stability of their currency. So they take refuge in the fact that because of that HIPIC, they were not having a lot of problems with the currency. So oftentimes they ran away from cedi to dollar, hoping that somehow that will give them what you call a higher mark. But let's face the facts as they are. Listen, we're talking about a country that, as we speak, the outlook is so positive that virtually every international economic analyst is pointing to Ghana moving again into a period of accelerated growth. 8% for 2017, 7% 2017 going forward. We are talking about a country that, as we are talking today, what international credit rating agencies are in the process of making a positive review about Ghana's rating, because they've seen that stability has returned, the cedi has become stable, the downside risk to the economy actually have been managed very significantly. That's why, for example, you are seeing reserves that are getting stronger and stronger, inflation being contained, GDP, budget deficit going down. Now, let's say, for example, let's look at the NPP carefully. This is the same group of people who, in 2001, told this country that they were going to reduce rice importation by 1/3. They met it at $100 million. By the close of the period, they took it to $500 million. That's what you call systematic destruction of the productive sector. They did the same thing to local poultry. They did the same thing to local fishes industry. That is exactly what they were supervising. We are talking about a group that actually oversaw a situation where a cocaine vessel that was coming to this country, that absolutely the international community had alerted them, and they still, under their incompetent watch, allowed that cocaine vessel to dock on our waters and totally vanish. That's the level of incompetence we are dealing with here. We are talking about the same group of people under them. As of 2008, they had actually earmarked the lands of Ghana Port and Harbour Authority to be sold for the building of some hotels. We came in 2009 under the leadership of John Mahama to stop the sale of those lands. You know what really has been the outcome of that today? On the back of that competent decision we took, Ghana Port and Harbour today is doing an expansion and has been able, together with MPS, to leverage $1.5 billion into this economy. That absolutely is an economy that absolutely is on the up and up and up. We're talking about the same economy that not too long ago, E&I had so much confidence that they were able to bring into this economy $7.1 billion. You can't call this economy an economy that is not looking very up. We are talking about the same economy that, as I'm talking to you, Ghana Airport Company, on its own balance sheet, is able to leverage $250 million to be able to build a ultra-modern terminal, which in their time they could only have dreamed about, is coming a reality in Ghana. We are talking about the same Ghana today, that this same airport company is able to attract a JV, that is a joint venture deal with Swissport, and they are actually in the process of finishing what you call a cargo center, which is going to be the biggest in the whole of Africa. That's an economy that there's a lot of confidence in. We are talking about the same economy. That's Ghana Gas is actually going into a BOT, that's a bill operate transfer arrangement, in order to leverage $500 million to construct a pipeline from Atuabo all the way to Tema. That's an economy that's absolutely is looking very, very, very flourishing and that people are having confidence in. That's not the economy we met. The economy we met was an economy where portfolio investors were fleeing out of this country. They were actually fleeing and dropping their investment because they had no confidence, because they missed the budget target by the highest in the history of our country, 11%, which is running away from, seeking refuge in some rebasing. They actually saw a situation where the city, they had depreciated by 20%, and it was only 20% because of the sale of Ghana Telecom. In the 8 years we've been in power, we have never had to resort to the sale of any national asset in order to hold our economy from sinking. That's what they had to do. We are talking about the same group of people, as I said, who absolutely are so incompetent that they can start a major road project of four major roads, and they don't even know where the money is coming from. It's like you trying to build a house, and you don't even know where the financing comes from. By the grace of God, economic management, that is the group. And he was there in the finance ministry at the time. That is monumental incompetence, Doc. Monumental incompetence. That's exactly what we saw.
600 million that you can't account for, true or false?
You know, oftentimes they speak, and you wonder, listen, if that were the reality, why? We are currently in a program with the IMF. Okay? We are currently in a program with the IMF. And IMF is what you call the most rigorous institution you can deal with. If we had a problem of that nature, IMF would have raised that problem.
Did the budget statement say that?
Listen, IMF would have raised that problem long ago.
Did the minister tell Parliament that?
My checks with the finance ministry, I'm not more in finance ministry, my check with them revealed that he's basically talking about issues that had more to do with classification than in reality. So
were you in Parliament? Did the minister say to Parliament that they cannot account for $1.6 billion, $600 million? Is it false?
I've just explained to you. You can get more details from the finance ministry.
But is it false?
But what I told you is simple. If that were the issue that he's trying to raise, the IMF would have raised that issue.
So you don't believe that the minister told
the fact that we are dealing
because
with,
we can get a hands up.
No, we are dealing with people who absolutely make a mountain.
See in the
hold on. We are dealing with people who make a mountain out of a molehill. That's really what
this is a molehill.
I said
they
built a
taxpayers'
mountain.
money cannot be accounted for as a molehill.
You don't seem to get the point I'm making is this. I'm telling you that we are in a major program with the IMF. And IMF would not allow a thing like that to happen if it were the reality. So if I had to choose,
so if I pick the hands out from Parliament and it's there, what shall I do?
If I had to choose, a number of things get said. You can actually misinterpret them if you choose to. And NPP is very good.
So what was said? Help us. What was
actually said? That's why I'm telling you.
What are we misinterpreting?
That if there were a problem relating to that, the group that absolutely would have raised a red flag would have been the IMF.
Is there any problem at all about 600 million?
Obviously, if there is a problem, you would have had.
So there's no problem about that. Okay, fair enough.
We'll
find out.
I thought...
And we're wrapping up now.
In the beginning, he came and said, we are going to deal with macroeconomics. rice importation is macroeconomics. Please.
Oh, rice importation is not macroeconomics.
Please.
Rice is not.
I did not.
Once again, let him just. We have 2 minutes to wrap up. You have a minute and you have a minute.
I mean, I'm tempted to go at his level. The language he's using.
Just
I'll rise above it.
Just go on.
You sitting here tell me I'm incompetent. You
are.
Me?
You are.
Hold on.
You are.
I'll go about it.
You are.
You are. I'll not go there. This propaganda matter.
It's not propaganda. You are.
Let's deal with the facts.
It's politics. I'm sure you
understand. No, it's not politics.
It's not politics.
It's not politics.
It's wrong. If you can go to a hairdressing salon looking for a loan, it makes you incompetent.
I'll rise above it.
Yes, please.
I'll rise above it.
A hairdressing salon looking for a loan.
The same person who comes to parliament and says, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said.
Oh, I see. When?
Please.
Which of them?
Can you shut up and listen to me?
Can you just go? Finish your point.
Yeah, shut up and listen to me. Because I said I want to rise above it. He's tempting me. And he talks about rice importation as macroeconomics. You see that he's
that's the productive sector.
Well, the 600 million.
That is the productive
He can't explain. He doesn't understand it. That's the level at which he is. He doesn't understand macroeconomics.
Amazing.
What? Ask him. When was he doing his degree? When he was a deputy minister? And he's talking about he's competent. I'll let Ghanaians decide that.
Your final word, we have to leave it. Your final word.
You see the problem we're dealing with here?
Your final word, yeah.
Since I was doing my degree when I was in the finance ministry, I've never done any degree outside of this country.
Okay.
So you are talking about individuals who absolutely believe in no facts.
We have to leave it here.
That makes you incompetent again. Because you don't even know the facts.
What is your background?
You don't even know the facts.
What is your background?
We have to leave it here. Thanks for watching. Good night. We'll be back next Tuesday. Sorry I couldn't look at your messages, but I have all of them. Thank you.